This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
And welcome back to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Thanks for joining us today. We've been speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with InvestorsGroup Financial Services. And we're looking at why starting a new year is a perfect time to reflect back and ask ourselves, are we where we want to be financially? So are you where you want to be financially? I understand that you would like to help people become interested and involved in orchestrating their financial outcomes, Jim, and part of that is actually working with investors. Well, it could stir up a little bit of occasional doubt, and you may lose a little confidence that they can actually affect any level of change. But I know that you're here to tell us that fixing a lot of this starts with something as simple as just deciding to work with a financial planner to become more engaged in your personal financial situation. So what suggestions do you have, Jim, for people who would like to see their money last their entire lifetime, not just for the next 10 years or first 10 years of retirement?
With increased volatility in the markets, protecting your savings with the goal of making it last as long as you do, it's like navigating between a rock and a hard place. Okay. In this low-growth world, I'm inclined to help people maybe lower their expectations a little bit for investment returns looking forward. If you've been hoping for maybe 8% or better than that, I'd probably like to ask, what does 5 or maybe a 6% return do for you?
I'm with you.
If you consider that a 65-year-old today could likely still be around in 20-plus years, traditional wisdom suggests investing heavily in stocks while you're young and scaling back the equity portion of your portfolio as you near retirement.
Well, I'm sensing that you feel a lot of people could actually be making these investments with the wrong timeline in mind.
I think what skews people's retirement asset allocation is that they're planning for the immediate future. You know, unless you have a terminal illness, we're probably talking about having you and your money being around for another 20 or 30 years. And that takes some good planning.
Well, I actually thought it was all about living for today. So maybe there's a little bit of millennial in me, even though I'm not the right age group. But what are some of the alternatives?
As a financial planner, I want to suggest that the strategy you choose should be depend on your circumstances and your risk tolerance. If you have a large portfolio and plan to leave money to your heirs, a more aggressive portfolio allocation later can make sense for those who are comfortable with the additional market risk. On the other hand, if you're earning investment income you don't need in an effort to be conservative, you might want to re-explore that one. Do the math. Ensure you have a financial plan to explore your options.
Well, Jim, what else could a retiree do to make their money last a lifetime?
Here's a big one, okay? Set your spending rate and try to stick to it. Spending everything you make, it's not a good recipe for success. On the other hand, some people let a 4% withdrawal rule is the standard. And that is a withdrawal rate that you can maintain your principal over time. The problems start when you try to adjust this payout to reflect increases for inflation over time.
Well, it kind of sounds like setting a budget. Do you actually feel this is a good standard that we should consider using?
To tell the truth, I want to help people ensure that withdrawals aren't too large early on. If they are, you run the risk of lowering your standard of living in the future or possibly running out of money.
Would it help at all if we just simply saved more money before we retired?
You'll never hear me fighting on that philosophy. Okay. They could. But I think upping your savings goal dramatically a few years away from retirement probably isn't realistic for most people. Postponing retirement for a few years or working part-time or working longer could be great options, of course, if you can do it.
If you can do it, that's right. Are there any other areas that we haven't covered that you feel are actually worthy of looking at?
Well, I think one that's often overlooked is efficient tax planning. Another is the timing of when you start your income streams. Do you need the income? If you're receiving government pensions or registered retirement income fund, it's likely that the income is going to put you in a higher tax bracket. You might want to see if it makes sense to defer or whether the alternative to accelerate receiving your old age security or your Canada pension plan, whether those makes sense. And the final one is, do you intend to pass on any of your wealth to the next generation? And if so, what do your plans look like?
So as a little sidebar here, these are all great questions. So these are things we should be asking our financial advisor.
Great idea.
Not to state the obvious, but so I wonder if many families are reluctant to have these conversations because, I don't know, maybe they're fearful of the answers or some of the aggravation or strife that it might cause. It seems that everyone in the family has a different opinion on this.
Absolutely. And there's a number of potential landmines here. Sometimes clients or their kids are simply unwilling to consider that their parents' health may decline or that at some point they might no longer be here. There's also an unwillingness to engage in the planning process that can stem from the fact that mortality and health, they're sensitive issues. On the other hand, parents can be reluctant to allow their kids to see their complete financial picture, either how well they've done or how poorly they've done. And we often see that for many families, it's incredibly difficult for them to talk about money matters.
Well, you actually mentioned early in the show about there was a very small percentage of parents that have actually talked to their kids about what they're actually going to inherit. So I'm not surprised to hear that some of these conversations are difficult. And of course, we know for a fact that a lot of adults and parents can be reluctant to have their accounts scrutinized. So where do you think all of this apprehension stems from?
It's not uncommon that retirees may not have saved enough for retirement, and they might end up taking a little more risk in an attempt to make up for the shortfall. Sometimes, when a son or daughter gets involved and they see their parents' money as their inheritance, they might feel that there's too much risk, which means, of course, the potential to lose some of their inheritance.
I think most parents joke as life goes on, as they spend money on their kids, they'd say, that's coming out of your inheritance. I know I heard that a lot growing up. But, well, Jim, it sounds like you think that for some families, there could be a reluctance to engage in these conversations because there may be estate planning issues that have been unaddressed or unresolved, and bringing them up could actually be a little bit painful, a little bit difficult. And being reluctant to talk about these issues, we've already determined that this is a big problem.
We see a lot of issues around monies that have been lent to various family members, and how do you keep that secret, or do you not keep that secret, do you disclose that? That's just a real challenge for a lot of families. When we talk about undisclosed agendas, disorganized records, or competing family dynamics, they can present challenges when friends or families or professionals are called upon to help. And for many of the retirees that I work with, they often have questions like, who's going to take care of me, or where's the money going to come from to pay for this sort of stuff? And that's where I can help, to help explore these matters and facilitate some of these conversations.
Well, and I know, and we have established in the past, that you have a lot of specific training and a lot of other designations that actually helps you initiate these conversations as well, talking about the sensitive issues, the money, the family, the aging with dignity.
We've got more and more Canadians that want to remain in their homes for as long as they can before they move on to, say, assisted living. And this means making arrangements for care providers to come to the home, or family members possibly to help or step in. When we talk about things like Alzheimer's, would it surprise you to hear that the average stay in a care home for this issue is over 9 years?
It is surprising, and I don't think it's something a lot of people have even considered or thought about. So having an advisor who knows your complete financial picture can actually be a wonderful asset during these tough times. And one of the bigger complaints that we hear about the banks is how they keep turning over their advisors. And I have to retell my story all over to a brand new person.
On a simple basis, people come to trust their advisors to know their complete financial picture and history. The financial planning process should look at how much income you've got coming in, what your expenses or ongoing expenses are, and how long your money is going to last, given certain variables. It's managing those variables that requires people to have a written plan so that they can model the various outcomes and make choices.
Well, Jim, I'm sure you come up against this all the time. Once people achieve a certain level of wealth, they're probably working with an advisor. So what do you say to our listeners who are already working with an advisor?
I'm delighted to hear that you're working with a professional financial advisor, because recent studies show that Canadians who have professional financial advice are more likely to achieve their financial goals as a result. If the primary concern is related to wealth transfer, tax reduction, succession planning, or ensuring their children and grandchildren are provided for, working with a financial planner. Nope. Let me try this again. If the primary concern is related to wealth transfer, tax reduction, succession planning, or ensuring your children and grandchildren are provided for, working with a financial planner and a financial plan can help you achieve your goals.
So when choosing an advisor, make sure you're getting exactly what you need, and it's never too late to set yourself on the right path financially.
Couldn't agree more. A couple final messages. Explore your relationship with money. Are you working towards clearly defined goals? Understand risk and volatility and how they affect your long-term objectives, and making sure that it really fits what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And consider that investing alone doesn't just involve choosing investments. There's an awful lot of other aspects that touch on things like cash flow, tax analysis, estate planning, and family. So I'd like to leave you with the 3 T's if I could. Time to do the research and anticipate the tax consequences. Technique, knowing what you're doing with knowledge, and of course temperament. And by that we mean emotional control.
I also really enjoy your point about explore your relationship with money and being able to convey that relationship to your advisor. I think that's where we're all going to benefit. Jim, we've covered some really powerful information here today, and I truly appreciate your insights as usual. We've talked about planning for millennials. We've talked about wealth transference to the next generation, as well as the importance of why a written financial plan is absolutely essential for your financial success. So thanks for sharing your expertise with us again today. You're listening to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Today, we're speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group Financial Services, Inc. We have asked the tough question, what are you putting up with or tolerating? Are you where you want to be financially? If not, I encourage you to take the very first steps to change that. And to learn how Jim Doyle can help with your financial situation, all you have to do is give him a phone call. The number toll-free, 1-800-665-7178, or you can call him locally at 604-682-5431. You can join us again for more discussions about setting you on the right path financially with Jim Doyle. It's all here on Boomer Life on CL 650.